Can you buy me and treat me like your slave? Pleaded the alien girl, chained like a dog. The stellar wisp groaned as it settled onto the dusty landing pad of Aegis Citadel, its hull a patchwork of dents and hasty repairs from too many close calls in asteroid fields. Evan Cross, clad in a faded silver-gray pilot's uniform, eased back in the cockpit, his jaw tight. Dorian Prime stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, a desert world baking under a crimson sky. The Citadel rose from the sands like a jagged scar, a fortress where black market deals thrived under the Hegemony's iron grip. Evan stepped out, boots crunching on grit, the air thick with the tang of ozone and the hum of anti-grav carts weaving through the chaos. The marketplace pulsed with life, a tangle of alien merchants, hawking tech and spices, their voices blending into a constant drone. Mercenaries lounged against rusted walls, weapons slung low, while smugglers bartered in shadowed corners. Evan adjusted his belt, feeling the reassuring weight of his sidearm, and wove through the crowd toward Malcor Finn's stall. His ship needed a hyperdrive core, or he'd be stuck on this rock, easy prey for creditors or worse. The crimson light cast long shadows, and every glance felt like a potential threat. Malcor's stall squatted under a tattered awning, prime real estate in the market's heart. The merchant, a hulking figure with 4 arms and insect-like eyes that clicked as they focused, grinned at Evan's approach. "Cross, you old drifter. Hyperdrive core, I assume?" His voice was slick, like oil on water. Evan nodded, leaning on the counter, eyes scanning the bins of salvaged tech. "Standard model. Nothing fancy. Got one?" Malcor's arms moved in a blur, pulling components from shelves. Prime condition, but credits up front. As they haggled, Evan's gaze drifted to the stall's shadowed corner. A girl huddled there, chains binding her ankles, her pale purple skin almost glowing under the dim light. Silver hair hung in matted strands, framing wide, frightened eyes. She was young, maybe 15, dressed in a tattered tunic that barely clung to her frail frame. A mutant, likely sold off from some Rimworld raid. Evan's chest tightened, an unfamiliar pang cutting through his usual detachment. Malcor followed his gaze, smirking. Interested? Bargain price for the girl. Evan wasn't here for this. He needed parts, not problems. But those eyes held him, pleading silently across the dusty stall. "How much?" he asked, voice low. Malcor named a price, and Evan's hand hesitated over his credit chip. His savings meant for the core dwindled with each word. Against his better judgment, he handed over the credits, the chains clinking as Malcor freed the girl. "Take her," Malcor said, tossing a glowing blue data crystal Evan's way. "Compensation. Valuable data. Sell it if you like." Evan pocketed the crystal, its faint hum unsettling against his thigh. The girl, Naya, whispered her name as she clung to his arm, her steps unsteady. Evan guided her through the market, her frail form pressing close, the tattered tunic flapping in the dry wind. A question gnawed at him. Why did I do that? I'm no hero, just a guy scraping by. He pushed it aside, scanning the crowd. A hooded figure lingered near a spice cart, their gaze locked on Evan's pocket. Trouble already, and he hadn't even left the market. An explosion shattered the air, a nearby stall erupting in flames. Screams tore through the crowd as armed drones buzzed in, their red targeting lights slicing through the chaos. One locked onto Evan and Naya, plasma bolts scorching the sand at their feet. Evan yanked Naya behind a crate, his pulse racing. "Stay low," he hissed, drawing his pistol. The drones weren't random. They wanted the crystal. Malcor's gift had turned them into targets. Nia trembled, her small hand gripping his. Evan fired, the shot sparking off a drone's shield. It veered, but more swarmed, their engines whining like angry wasps. The hooded figure vanished into the scattering crowd, leaving Evan and Nia exposed. He spotted a narrow alley, its shadows offering cover. "Move," he urged, pulling Nia along as bolts singed the ground. Her breathing was ragged but determined, a flicker of trust in her eyes as they ran. The market dissolved into a war zone, merchants diving for cover, carts overturning. Evan clipped another drone, sparks raining as it crashed. The alley loomed ahead, a service hatch glinting in the gloom. They dove inside, darkness swallowing them, the sounds of pursuit muffled but relentless. Nia huddled close, silent, her silver hair catching faint light. Evan's hand brushed the crystal, its hum louder now, like a heartbeat. Whatever it held, it was worth killing for. The drone's lights pierced the hatch, scanning. Evan motioned for silence, leading Nia deeper into the Citadel's underbelly. The chase was on, and the stakes were climbing. The service hatch clanged shut behind Evan and Nia, plunging them into the humid gloom of the Citadel's catacomb ducts. The air reeked of rust and stale oil, the narrow tunnels lit only by flickering maintenance strips. Evan kept Nia close, her small frame trembling as the distant whine of drones echoed through the metal walls. Plasma bolts had scorched the hatch, their heat lingering like a warning. Evan's grip tightened on his pistol, the data crystal heavy in his pocket. Whatever Malcor had slipped him, it was no ordinary trinket. They moved quickly, boots splashing through shallow puddles. The ducts, a maze of twisting pipes and hissing vents. Nia's silver hair caught the dim light, her breathing uneven, but steadying as she matched Evan's pace. He glanced at her, surprised by her resilience. She was no ordinary kid, not with those eyes that seemed to see too much. The drone's hum faded, but Evan's nerves stayed taut. The Citadel didn't forgive mistakes, and they were far from safe. A shadow moved ahead, swift and deliberate. Evan raised his pistol, heart pounding, but a cloaked figure stepped into the light, deflecting a stray drone shot with a pulse pistol's crack. "This way," the figure hissed, voice sharp but urgent. Her hood fell back, revealing bronze skin and long black hair tied tightly. "Seraphine Vale. Follow me if you want to live." Evan hesitated, his instincts screaming trap, but Nia's hand squeezed his, urging trust. Another blast rocked the tunnel, and he nodded, pulling Nia along as they followed Sarah into a side passage. The ducts grew tighter, the air thick with the groan of machinery. Sarah moved like she knew every turn, her jumpsuit blending into the shadows. They reached a small alcove, its walls lined with rusted panels. Sarah crouched, checking a wrist device that glowed faintly. "We're clear. For now." Her eyes flicked to the crystal in Evan's hand, now out of his pocket. "That's why they're after you." Evan's jaw tightened. "Talk. What's this about?" Sarah's gaze was steady, calculating. "I'm an agent. Been tracking Hegemony's secrets for months. That crystal holds evidence of their crimes. Big ones." Nia, huddled against the wall, spoke softly, her voice almost lost in the hum of the ducks. "I feel them. So much anger. Fear." Her eyes fluttered, overwhelmed. Evan frowned, catching Sarah's glance. "She's empathic," Sarah said. "Mutant trait. She senses emotions, Probably why she's still alive. Evan's skepticism flared, but Nia's trembling confirmed it. What crimes? He pressed. Sierra's voice dropped low. The hegemony wiped out a colony. 3 million souls, gone in weeks. Artificial plague, deployed by their ships. That crystal has the proof. Evan's gut churned, glancing at Nia, whose eyes widened with a grief too deep for her age. The ducts seemed to close in, the weight of her loss pressing against them all. From a smuggler's vantage point, hidden in a nearby vent, the scene unfolded differently. That pilot's got guts, dragging a kid and a crystal through this mess. Hegemony's hunting him hard. Brave or doomed, I can't tell. The thought hung unspoken, carried away by the tunnel's damp air. Footsteps clanged closer, sharp and deliberate. Sarah's wrist device beeped, signaling trouble. Rugger hail, she muttered. Mercenary. Hegemony's attack dog. Evan's mind raced. He spotted a loose vent panel, yanking it free with a screech. Hold this, he told Nia, passing her his jacket. He rigged the panel to collapse, wires sparking as he twisted them. The passage rumbled, dust cascading as the vent caved in, slowing their pursuers. Sarah, meanwhile, hacked a maintenance drone with her device, its lights flickering as it scouted ahead. They pushed deeper, Nia's small hand gripping Evans tightly. Her trust steadied him, though he didn't know why. Sarah glanced back, her sharp eyes softening for a moment. You're not bad in a pinch, pilot. Evans smirked, despite the tension. You're not so bad yourself, spy. A spark flickered between them, brief but real, as they navigated the labyrinth. The drone beeped, signaling a clear path, but Rugger's voice echoed through the ducts, cold and taunting. Can't run forever, Cross. His enforcer's boots clanged, closing in. Nia's empathic senses flared, her voice a whisper. He's angry, but scared too. Evan nodded, filing it away. Fear could be a weapon. They slipped through a junction, the drone leading to an access ladder. Above, the Citadel's upper levels waited. A new battlefield. Evan helped Nia climb, her strength surprising him. Sarah followed, her pulse pistol ready. The crystal hummed louder. A dangerous promise. Whatever came next, they were in it together. The ladder spat them into a derelict maintenance bay, its air heavy with the scent of rust and burnt circuits. Flickering hollow screens cast ghostly light over piles of scrapped machinery, their hum barely masking the distant clang of Rugger's enforcers. Evan steadied Nia as she stepped off the ladder, her silver hair catching the dim glow. Sarah scanned the room, her wrist device pulsing softly, confirming no immediate threats. The crystal in Evan's pocket felt heavier, its faint hum a constant reminder of the trouble it brought. They needed answers, and fast. Sarah knelt by a rusted terminal, plugging in the crystal with deft fingers. The screen sputtered to life, projecting grainy footage of Hegemony ships, their sleek hulls glinting as they unleashed a mist-like plague over a lush planet. Cities crumbled, skies darkened, and screams filled the air. Nia gasped, her pale purple hands clutching Evan's arm, her empathic senses drowning in the recorded agony. She sank to her knees, eyes glistening with tears. That's my home, she whispered, voice breaking. Evan crouched beside her, his hand awkward but gentle on her shoulder. Hey, we're here. You're not alone. His words felt clumsy, but Nia leaned into him, drawing strength. Sarah's voice cut through, sharp but steady. Admiral Typhon Cade's work. He ordered the genocide to mine rare isotopes, fueling the Hegemony's 200-planet empire. This crystal's proof. Evan's jaw clenched, his mind racing. 3 million dead for profit. The scale of it burned, but he kept his focus on Naya, her grief a weight he couldn't ignore. Sarah ejected the crystal, her bronze skin taut with determination. We get this to the Command Spire, broadcast it, and Cade's finished. From Rugger Hale's perspective, stalking the ducks below, Cade's credits are good, but this pilot's making it personal. That crystal's my ticket to a fleet of my own, or a quick death. His cold ambition echoed in the tunnels, unheard by the trio above. Sarah pulled maintenance uniforms from a locker, their gray fabric stiff with dust. Disguises. We blend in, head for the spire. Evan slipped on a jumpsuit, helping Nia into one that hung loose on her small frame. Her silver hair was tucked under a cap, but her purple skin still drew glances. They moved out, weaving through the Citadel's upper levels, where barracks buzzed with soldiers and anti-ship cannons loomed like silent giants. The air vibrated with the low hum of the fortress's 500-megawatt shield grid, a reminder of the Hegemony's power. Evan kept Nia close, his pistol hidden under the uniform. He caught Sarah's eye, smirking. You ever not have a plan? Sarah's lips twitched, a rare lightness breaking through. Only when I'm saving your hide, pilot. Nia giggled softly, the sound fleeting but warm, easing the tension. They passed a patrol, Nia's empathic senses picking up a guard's flicker of fear. He's nervous, she whispered, guiding them around a corner to avoid detection. Evan raised an eyebrow, impressed. The kid was tougher than she looked. The spire's obsidian silhouette loomed ahead, its hollow displays blasting hegemony propaganda across the citadel. Crowds moved below, unaware of the storm brewing. Sarah's drone, still under her control, scouted their path, its tiny lights blinking through the chaos. But a sudden glitch froze its signal, the drone's feed cutting to static. Sarah cursed under her breath. Someone's overridden it. Rugger. The betrayal stung, but there was no time to dwell. The spire was close, and so was their chance to end this. Evan led the way, his steps quick but cautious, Naya's hand in his. The crystal pulsed in his pocket, a beacon of truth and danger. Rugger's enforcers were out there, closing the net. From a technician's vantage point in the barracks, those three slipped past like ghosts. If they reach the spire, Cade's done for. The thought rippled through the Citadel's undercurrent, a spark of rebellion waiting to ignite. They reached a service corridor, its walls lined with humming conduits. Sarah hacked a door panel, her fingers flying over the controls. The door slid open, revealing a cargo lift to the spire's lower levels. But footsteps echoed behind them, sharp and relentless. Rugger's voice cut through, cold and mocking. No more running, Cross. Evan pushed Nia into the lift, his pulse racing. Sarah followed, slamming the control to ascend. The doors closed just as plasma bolts sparked against them, the lift lurching upward. They were in deep, but the truth was within reach, and they weren't turning back. The cargo lift rattled upward, its gears grinding as Evan, Nia, and Sarah pressed against the cold metal walls. Sparks from Rudger's plasma bolts had scorched the doors below, their faint glow fading as the lift climbed toward the command spire. Naya's silver hair peeked from under her oversized maintenance cap, her purple skin stark against the gray uniform. Evan checked his pistol, the crystal in his pocket humming like a trapped pulse. Sarah's fingers danced over her wrist device, rerouting power to mask their ascent. The spire loomed above, an obsidian monolith broadcasting hegemony lies across the Citadel's hollow displays. The lift jolted to a stop, doors sliding open to a cavernous lower level. Technicians bustled around consoles, monitoring the fortress's 500-megawatt shield grid, its hum vibrating through the floor. Evan kept Naya close, her small frame tense but steady. Sarah led the way, her jumpsuit blending with the workers' uniforms. They moved past towering conduits, their steps muffled by the drone of machinery. Naya's eyes darted, her empathic senses flaring. That one, she whispered, nodding toward a technician hunched over a panel. He feels guilty, hiding something. Evan followed her gaze, trusting her instinct. Sarah slipped closer, her device scanning the technician's console. A hidden access code flashed across her screen, leading to the broadcast room. Nice catch, kid, Evan muttered, a grin tugging at his lips. Nia's shy smile flickered, her resilience shining through her fear. They wove through the chaos, dodging workers and security drones, the spire's sleek walls closing in like a trap. Outside, the Citadel churned, its 10,000-strong population unaware of the storm brewing within. Hollow displays flickered with Cade's propaganda, his stern face promising order. Sarah's wrist device beeped, signaling Rugger's squad, closing in. They're fast, she hissed, ducking into a narrow corridor. Evan pulled Nia along, his heart pounding. The corridor was a choke point, lined with pulsing conduits, and no cover. Rugger's boots echoed behind, his voice sharp. Got you now, Cross? Evan spun, shoving Nia behind him. Keep talking, Hale. Makes you easier to hit. His banter masked his racing pulse, buying time. Sarah rummaged in her pack, pulling a small EMP grenade. Cover me, she said, priming it. Evan fired a shot, down the corridor, the bolt sparking off a conduit. Rugger's squad ducked, their powered armor glinting. Sarah tossed the grenade, a pulse of light frying their weapons' circuits. Sparks rained, and the squad faltered, cursing. From a technician's perspective, watching from a control booth, those intruders move like ghosts. If they hit the broadcast room, Cade's finished. The thought spread like static, a ripple of doubt among the Spire's workers. The trio slipped through a side door, entering the broadcast room. Screens lined the walls, showing every corner of the Citadel, marketplace, barracks, and landing pads. Consoles hummed, their holo controls glowing under Sarah's touch. She began hacking, her fingers a blur. This'll link us to every display in the fortress, she said, voice steady despite the tension. Evan barricaded the door with a crate, its metal groaning. Naya stood by a screen, her empathic senses sharpening. He's close, she whispered, her voice trembling. Cade, I feel his arrogance. Evan glanced at her, the weight of her words sinking in. The crystal's hum grew louder, syncing with the room's pulse. Sarah's hack progressed, lines of code streaming across the console. But an alarm blared, red lights flashing. Cade's elite guards were coming, their powered armor thudding outside. From a guard's perspective, Cade's orders were clear. Kill the intruders. But why is he so scared of a kid? The question lingered, unanswered, as the guards closed in. Evan rigged a decoy signal, broadcasting static to draw the guards away. It bought seconds, not minutes. Sarah's hack was almost complete, the system bending to her will. Nia's eyes glowed faintly, her empathic power sensing Cade's presence through the spire's walls. He's afraid, she said, voice soft but certain. Deep down, he knows. Evan exchanged a look with Sarah, a silent agreement forming. They were close, But the noose was tightening. The door glowed red, plasma cutters sparking. Evan braced himself, pistol ready. Sarah's console beeped, the broadcast system online. Nia stepped forward, her small frame resolute. The crystal pulsed, the truth within it ready to break free. Rugger's voice roared outside, promising blood. The spire trembled, a battleground of steel and secrets, and the trio stood at its heart, one step from changing everything. The broadcast room's doors glowed molten red, plasma cutters screeching as Cade's elite guards carved their way in. Evan shoved another crate against the barricade, its metal scraping across the floor. Buying precious seconds, the air buzzed with the hum of consoles, their hollow screens casting flickering light over Nia's pale purple skin and Sarah's focused expression. Sarah's fingers flew over the controls, code streaming as she battled the Spire's security system. The crystal in Evan's pocket pulsed like a heartbeat, its hum syncing with the room's tension. Nia stood by a screen, her silver hair glinting, her empathic senses sharp, despite her trembling hands. "We're almost in," Sarah said, her voice taut but steady. "Just need to bypass the lockdown protocols." Evan glanced at the door, sparks flying as the cutters bit deeper. His pistol felt heavy, useless against powered armor. He turned to Nia, her eyes distant, lost in memory. "They burned everything," she whispered, voice raw. "My family, my home. They can't hide forever." Her words cut through the chaos, hardening Evan's resolve. He wasn't a savior, but for her, he'd fight to the end. The thought flashed and faded, his focus snapping back to the barricade. Rugger's voice crackled through the comms, cold and taunting. "Give up, Cross. Cade's promised me a frigate for your head." Evan smirked, masking his nerves. "Hope it's got a good warranty, Hale." He rigged a decoy signal on a nearby console, broadcasting a false heat signature to lure guards down a side corridor. The cutters paused, footsteps fading briefly. Sarah's console beeped, progress inching forward. "Got the outer relays?" she said. "Few more seconds." Nia's gaze sharpened, her empathic senses flaring. "Cade's scared," she murmured, hands clenched. "His guilt, it's buried, but it's there." Evan raised an eyebrow, catching Sarah's glance. An idea sparked in Nia's eyes. Her voice, soft, but firm. "I can use it. Make him feel it." Evan nodded, trusting her instinct. The kid had been through hell, and still stood tall. If she saw a way to crack Cade, he'd back her. From a guard's perspective, outside the glowing door, Cade's orders were clear. Kill the intruders. But why's he so scared of a kid? The doubt gnawed, spreading like static among the squad. The Citadel's 50,000-ton gates slammed shut somewhere above. Cade's voice booming through the Spire's comms, ordering a full lockdown. The fortress was a cage now, trapping everyone inside. Sarah's console flashed green, the broadcast system bending to her will. "Almost there," she hissed, sweat beading on her bronze skin. Evan dragged another crate to the barricade, muscles straining. The door shuddered, cutters breaking through, molten metal dripping like blood. He fired a shot, the bolt sparking uselessly against the guard's armor. Nia stepped closer to the console, her small frame resolute. "I can feel him," she said, voice steady despite her exhaustion. "He's in the command chamber, watching us." Evan's decoy signal worked, drawing half the squad away, their boots clanging down the wrong hall. But Rudger stayed, his silhouette visible through the melting door. "You're done, Cross," he roared, his own weapon sparking as he fired. Evan ducked, pulling Nia behind a console. The bolt scorched the wall, leaving a black smear. Sarah didn't flinch, her focus unbreakable. Got it, she said, the system yielding. The screens flickered, ready to broadcast to the Citadel's 10,000 residents. Nia's eyes glowed faintly, her empathic power reaching out. He's hiding it, she whispered, but I can make him feel the truth. Evan exchanged a look with Sarah, a silent agreement. The barricade groaned, the door buckling inward. Rugger's squad was seconds away, their cutters screaming. Evan braced himself, pistol raised, as Sarah locked the broadcast signal. The crystal's hum surged, a beacon of truth, ready to burn through the hegemony's lies. The room shook, consoles sparking as the guards breached the outer layer. Nia stood tall, her silver hair catching the light, her voice a quiet command. We're ready. Evan nodded, his heart pounding. The spire was a battlefield now, and they were cornered. But the truth was their weapon, and Nia's power was the key. Rugger's laughter echoed, promising death, but the screens glowed brighter. The broadcast moments from going live. The trap was tight, but the trio was ready to break it. The broadcast room trembled as the door's molten edges buckled. Cade's elite guards, moments from breaking through. Sparks rained from the ceiling, consoles flickering under the strain. Sarah's fingers locked onto the controls, the broadcast system humming as it linked to every screen in the Citadel, ready to reach its 10,000 residents. Evan stood by the barricade, pistol raised, his silver-gray uniform streaked with sweat and grime. Nia stepped forward, her silver hair glowing under the flickering lights, her pale, purple skin stark against the chaos. The crystal in Evan's pocket pulsed wildly, its hum a drumbeat to the rising tension. Sarah slammed the final command, and the screens blazed to life, showing the Citadel's marketplace, barracks, and landing pads. We're live, she said, her bronze skin glistening with effort. Nia's eyes narrowed, her empathic senses stretching toward Admiral Typhon Cade in his command chamber high above. He's watching, she whispered, voice steady, despite the tremor in her hands. I can feel his guilt. It's buried deep, but it's there. Evan caught Sarah's glance, a silent nod passing between them. Nia's power was their edge, a weapon sharper than any blade. The door groaned, plasma cutters screeching as guards carved through the last barrier. Evan braced himself, his heart pounding. Nia stepped closer to the central console, her small frame resolute. Tell them what you did, she said softly, her voice carrying a strange weight. Her empathic power surged, a wave of emotion projected toward Cade. On the screens, Cade appeared, his bronze skin and cold eyes framed by the command chamber's stark walls. His composure cracked, a flicker of unease crossing his face, unaware his mind was bending under Nia's influence. Cade's voice faltered as he spoke, broadcast to every corner of the Citadel and beyond, reaching 200 hegemony worlds. The colony, it was necessary, he began, his tone authoritative, but strained. Nia's focus intensified, her eyes glowing faintly. The truth, she whispered, her power digging into Cade's buried guilt. His words stumbled, then spilled out. We deployed the plague, 3 million dead, for the isotopes, for the Empire. The confession hung in the air, raw and undeniable, his cold facade shattered. From a civilian's perspective, in the marketplace below, Cade's voice shook. I've served the hegemony for years, but this, This is betrayal. The words rippled through the crowd, anger sparking as screens replayed Cade's admission. Soldiers froze, their rifles lowering, doubt creeping in. The door exploded inward, Roger Hale charging through with a snarl, his lanky frame towering. "You're dead, Cross!" Evan tackled him, their bodies crashing into a console, sparks flying. Roger's fist connected with Evan's jaw, but Evan drove a knee into his gut, fighting with desperate grit. Sarah stayed glued to the controls, uploading the crystal's data, vid footage, Hegemony ships unleashing the plague. The screens flooded with evidence, undeniable and damning, spreading like wildfire across the fortress. Nia swayed, her face pale, exhaustion pulling at her. Her empathic effort had drained her, but she held firm, her voice a whisper. They see it now. The guards outside hesitated, their cutters stilled, Cade's confession echoing in their comms. From a soldier's perspective, I followed Cade for order, for strength. Now he's a liar, exposed. Their loyalty wavered, some turning away, rifles lowered. Evan pinned Rugger, wrenching his arms back and binding them with a cable. "Stay down," he growled, blood trickling from his lip. Sarah secured the broadcast, ensuring the signal reached rebel factions beyond the Citadel. The room shook, consoles sparking as the system strained under the data surge. Naya collapsed, her small body crumpling. Evan caught her, easing her to the floor. "You did it, kid," he said, his voice soft but proud. Her weak smile answered, her strength undeniable. The Citadel erupted outside, civilians tearing down Hegemony banners, soldiers turning on their commanders. The broadcast room's screens showed chaos, market stalls burning, crowds chanting. Sarah's wrist device pinged, confirming the signal's spread to distant systems. Evan lifted Nia, her silver hair falling across his arm. "We need to move," he said, meeting Sarah's eyes. She nodded, her expression fierce but warm, a spark of connection flickering. The guards outside stood frozen, their allegiance shattered. Rugger cursed, struggling against his bonds. The crystal's hum faded, its truth unleashed. Evan carried Nia toward the door, Sarah covering their rear. The spire was a battleground, but the tide had turned. Cade's empire was crumbling, and the trio was its catalyst, racing toward freedom. The broadcast room's screens blazed with chaos, showing Cade's confession rippling through the Citadel like a shockwave. Guards outside lowered their rifles, faces etched with doubt. Naya's empathic push lingering in their minds. Evan eased Nia to a console, her breathing shallow but steady, her silver hair damp with sweat. Sarah locked the doors with a quick hack, her bronze skin flushed from the fight. Rugger groaned on the floor, bound tightly, his threats reduced to mutters. Evan wiped blood from his lip, his silver-gray uniform torn, but his grip on the pistol firm. The crystal's hum had faded, its truth now a weapon unleashed across the stars. High in the command chamber, Cade's own guards stormed in, rifles trained on their admiral. His bronze skin paled, cold eyes widening as the broadcast echoed around them. "Stand down," he barked, but his voice cracked, Nia's emotional surge amplifying his guilt. The guards hesitated no longer, swayed by the confession and the raw betrayal. "It's over, Admiral," one said, voice steady. Cade backed against his console, the spire's sleek walls closing in like a tomb. Evan helped Nia sit up, her weak smile breaking through exhaustion. "We did it," she whispered, her pale purple hand reaching for his. Sarah joined them, her sharp eyes softening as she exchanged a relieved glance with Evan, a touch of affection in the air. Signals spreading, Sarah said, her fingers tapping the console. Beyond the Citadel now, rebels will pick it up. The room steadied, the immediate threat gone. But the Citadel outside boiled. The fortress's shields flickered, their 500 megawatt hum stuttering, as technicians, inspired by the broadcast, disabled key systems from their stations. Cade's fleet of 50 warships was grounded in the landing bays, engines powering down under mutinous hands. Alarms blared faintly, a symphony of collapse. Cade, cornered in his chamber, ranted about the natural order, his words spilling out in a desperate torrent. This is the way of empires. Strength prevails. But his voice fell flat, echoing hollow against the guard's unyielding stares. His authority shattered like glass, the hegemony's grip slipping. From a soldier's perspective, rifle still raised, I followed Cade for order, for strength. Now he's just a coward, hiding behind lies. The realization spread, turning loyalty to ash. Below, civilians in the marketplace rioted, tearing down hegemony banners with bare hands, their anger fueled by the screens replaying Cade's admission. Plasma bolts sparked in the air, but not from enforcers. Rebellion had ignited, and crowds were chanting for justice. Sarah hacked the Spire's comms with swift precision, relaying the crystal's data to rebel factions across the sector. Signals bounced through hyperspace relays, sparking a chain reaction on distant worlds. They'll know now, she said, her voice laced with quiet triumph. Evan lifted Nia gently, cradling her in his arms. You're safe, kid. Got a spot on my ship for you. A home, if you want it. Nia's eyes brightened, her small nod full of trust. Sarah stood beside them, her pulse pistol holstered. And I'll fight what's left of them, she vowed, her hand brushing Evan's arm. The connection deepened, a promise amid the storm. They slipped out of the broadcast room, the corridors echoing with distant shouts. Guards parted for them, some nodding in silent alliance. Evan carried Nia down a service stairwell, Sarah covering their rear, her wrist device scanning for threats. Stray plasma fire zipped through the halls, the Citadel descending into controlled chaos, fights breaking out, but hegemony symbols crumbling. The marketplace below was a sea of movement, banners burning, crowds surging toward the spire. They reached the lower levels, the air thick with smoke and the scent of scorched metal. Evan's boots pounded the grated floors. Nia, light in his arms. Almost there, he murmured, dodging a group of defecting soldiers. Sarah fired a warning shot over a loyalist's head, clearing their path. The landing pad loomed ahead, the stellar wisp waiting amid grounded warships. Alarms wailed, shields offline, the fortress vulnerable. For the first time, Evan set Nia down gently by the ship's ramp, her strength returning in waves. You okay? He asked, his voice soft. She nodded, gripping his hand. Sarah activated the ramp, her eyes scanning the chaos. Cade's done, but the hegemony won't fall easily. Evan agreed, a grim smile forming. They boarded the ship's engines, humming to life, a beacon of escape. The Citadel burned below, rebellion spreading, the trio's bond forged in fire. As the ramp closed, Evan plotted their course, ready for whatever came next. The stellar wisp rumbled to life, its patched hull groaning as Evan eased the throttle forward, lifting off from the chaotic landing pad. Dorian Prime's crimson sky blurred above, the Citadel shrinking below like a smoldering scar in the desert. Flames licked at hegemony structures, crowds surging in rebellion. But the ship climbed steadily, breaking through the atmosphere into the star-speckled void. Evan sat at the controls, his silver-gray uniform still torn from the fight, fingers dancing over the console. Nia rested in a passenger seat, now in a clean jumpsuit scavenged from the ship's lockers, her silver hair catching the cockpit's soft lights. Sarah leaned against the bulkhead, her bronze skin and black hair framing a weary but satisfied expression. "Finally off that rock," Evan said, his voice light, a smirk playing on his lips. "Though we still need that hyperdrive core. Guess I'll have to charm one out of the rebels." Sarah rolled her eyes, crossing her arms with a playful huff. "Charm? More like beg. Your ship's held together with spit and hope." Nia giggled softly, the sound warm in the confined space, easing the lingering tension. The Citadel's chaos faded behind them, replaced by the quiet hum of the engines. Nia gazed out the viewport, stars streaking past as the ship accelerated. Her pale purple skin glowed faintly under the lights, a symbol of fragile hope amid the vastness. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her voice soft, carrying a note of wonder. Evan glanced back, his expression softening. "Yeah, kid. Gets me every time." Sarah moved closer, her hand brushing Evan's shoulder in a quiet moment. Their fingers touched briefly, a spark of trust and something deeper passing between them. The fight had forged bonds, turning strangers into allies, perhaps more. The crystal's data, now unleashed, spread like ripples across 200 star systems, weakening the Hegemony's hold. Rebel transmissions crackled over the comms, reports of uprisings on distant worlds, governors fleeing their posts. Sarah monitored the feeds, her wrist device glowing. "Hegemony fleet's in disarray," she said, voice steady. 30% of ships are already. Cade's confession hit hard. Evan nodded, adjusting the controls. "Good. Let them crumble." Nia's eyes widened, her empathic senses picking up the distant echoes of change, a mix of fear and hope from afar-off souls. The ship's sensors beeped, detecting Hegemony patrols in the distance, their signatures faint but persistent. "Not over yet," Evan muttered, plotting a course around them, heading to a rebel outpost 10 light-years out. Safe spot to repair and regroup. Nia shifted, her small hand reaching for Evan's. "I lost my family," she said softly, voice laced with quiet strength. "But you gave me a new one." Evan squeezed her hand, his grin genuine. "Damn right, kid." Sarah smiled, joining them, her presence a steady anchor. United in their shared fight, the trio found a fragile peace. Sarah tuned into more transmissions, voices of rebels coordinating strikes. The Hegemony's shadow retreating. "They're rallying," she said, excitement edging her tone. "Our broadcast started something big." Evan leaned back, the ship's hum soothing. "One step at a time. First, that outpost. Then, we hit them where it hurts." Nia nodded, her silver hair reflecting the stars, a beacon of resilience. The patrols faded on the sensors, the void opening wide before them. As the stellar wisp aligned for the jump, Evan initiated the sequence, the engines whining higher. "Hold on," he said, his voice calm. The stars stretched, then blurred into hyperspace's swirling tunnel. The trio sat together, vows unspoken but clear. They'd keep fighting, their bond alight against the darkness. The Hegemony's remnants lurked, but for now, the ship carried them forward, a new family forged in the fires of Aegis Citadel.